commenting on the Russo-Ukrainian war, and we're almost half a year into Russia's full-scale illegal invasion of Ukraine. Of course, they invaded some of it in 2014, but this is their concerted effort to take over the entire country. So I'm asking whether Russia is going to use nuclear weapons in Ukraine, and at the moment we're going to conclude no. Spoiler alert. Um, Now, why? Well, recently, the Russian defense minister was just yesterday, the 16th of August, Sergei Shoigu came out to say there's no military need to use them because there's been so much speculation in the West media that they might use some nuclear weapons. The trouble is, why did he qualify it with military need? Could there be a non-military, a political need, or something like that? Because obviously the offensive is stalling, Russia's making nuclear gains, the Ukrainians are launching more audacious attacks. They managed to blow up some Russian aircraft in a base in Crimea the other day. Now, how they did that is unclear. The Ukrainians, some of them are suggesting unofficially there was Ukrainian-made missiles. The United States and other NATO countries are very circumspect about the munitions they will give to the Ukrainians. Don't want to give really long range ones, lest that provoke the Russians too much. But maybe the United States has done so, but just hasn't announced it, especially because that warehouse in Bulgaria blew up about a week ago. That warehouse, which was storing arms to then be shipped on to Ukraine. And if Russia blew that up, as it probably did, that was an attack on NATO soil. I mean, that could be the Third World War. I don't think it's going to be. NATO is very circumspect about that. That wouldn't be a proportionate response. But if Russia doesn't pay a price, they're going to do it more and more and more. And why shouldn't they? If they can destroy weapons which are going to Ukraine and not be hit back for it, well, they should carry on. It's worth it from their point. It's completely logical. Um, Sergei Shoigu, the defense minister, he reiterated Russia's nuclear weapons doctrine. They would only use them if there's a weapons of mass destruction attack on Russia or her allies, or indeed there's some sort of attempt to destroy Russia as a state. It has to be a really large scale thing, not like the war in Chechnya in the 90s, not like when they're fighting Moldova in the early 90s, or when they attacked Georgia, and not like their invasion of Ukraine. It has to be something much graver than that, some attempt to take out Russia's nuclear arsenal. So Russia claims to have 10,000 nuclear warheads. Now, the Russian government lies about everything, often absolutely blatantly and on a huge scale. So they must be lying about this. How much they're lying, I don't know. What's their nuclear arsenal really? Is it 9,000? Is it 5,000? The only thing I'd bet the house on is not as many as they say. And we know they're not very good at maintaining things, but if even a fraction of that works, that would still be hundreds of millions of people they kill. And I'm certainly no nuclear weapons expert. From what little I know, even the feeblest nuclear weapon these days is about 20 times more puissant than that was dropped on Nagasaki, on Hiroshima. Of course, we've just passed the anniversary of the Japanese surrender yesterday, so that was quite reassuring. And a Russian diplomat told the United Nations only a few days ago that nuclear weapons will not be used in Ukraine. But this is strange because they're dialing down the rhetoric on nuclear arms, where they're saying the opposite a few months ago. Is it because they want to de-escalate things? Are they keen to negotiate? They've already been trying to use the quondam German Chancellor Gerhard Schröder as an intermediary. They might be sending other peace envoys. They might be using the Turks or other countries with whom they have got fairly good relations. I can't think who they can use. They can't use the Swedes or the Swiss, who were often the go-betweens for negotiations in the First World War, the Second World War. Who else is there? I mean, to some extent, the Chinese, who are not actually military allies, despite a fairly good relationship. You go back to February 2022, when Putin launched this war, he said he'd put the nuclear weapons units on high alert. So that's an attempt to intimidate Western countries, not to help the Ukrainians defend themselves, their civilians, their democracy from this insensate barbarism. So warning Western countries off. And Joe Biden didn't respond. No nuclear weapons armed state responded. I thought, well, the thing to do say, well, remind you, we've got a nuclear arsenal, and unlike you, our technology works. We could kill your entire population within 10 minutes. We really don't want a nuclear war, but if you start one, we'll finish it. But they didn't do that. Maybe it was right that they didn't engage in this escalatory rhetoric. I would like to dismiss it as puerile, but maybe it's not. This is way too serious. This is not a time for chest puffing, posturing, and machismo. It's something which is very grave. We can't be playing games with that by that. And by going toe to toe with him, might that push him to do something stupid? Even if we win a nuclear war, it'd still be at least several million Western civilians, at least several million, who would be killed in it. So even Putin said a few years ago, just like I think it was Nikita Khrushchev said in the 50s, the only way to win nuclear war was by not letting it start. There are no winners. It really would be the victor of Pyrrhos. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised they're dialing down that. Has there been some pushback that if you keep saber rattling on nuclear weapons, we'll do something? We'll give more conventional weapons to the Ukrainians. Are there going to be more severe sanctions? So I don't think they will do. Now, when I thought they might use nuclear weapons, or indeed chemical weapons, biological weapons, incidentally, Shoigu ruled out chemical weapons. That's funny because Russia claims not to have any chemical weapons. So why is it even mentioning it? Which is obviously a tacit acknowledgement that they do have chemical weapons, despite signing conventions to say they would completely rid themselves of their chemical weapons arsenals in the 1970s. So half a century on, they're still breaking that one. Yeah, that they're. I thought what they might do is a tactical nuclear weapons strike to take out, say, several square miles, take out a big Ukrainian military unit of thousands of soldiers. Could they do it on the center of Kiev, just the nerve center of the government, to try and kill Zelensky, decapitate the state, kill some of his top officials, and so the chain of command be wiped out? But no, so far they haven't done it. Because what do? You can't protect a whole country against nuclear weapons. You cannot build nuclear shelters to protect everybody, protect 40 million Ukrainians. Even chemical weapons attacks, I mean, it'd be very difficult, very expensive to manufacture enough gas masks for everyone in that country, chemical warfare suits, and so on. And what are you going to do about food and water? How's that all going to be safe? So that's why attack is the best form of defense in these things, because it's just not possible to build defenses to save even a significant minority of the population. A few nuclear weapons shelters for any some top government officials, most people left to die of radiation. It's quite scary living in central London thinking, yeah, I'm in the fallout zone. It's not survivable here. But what's giving me pause for thought is everything that they've promised not to do, they have done. In the run up to February 2022, they vowed that they would not invade Ukraine. They did it. They said in 2014 they weren't going to invade Crimea, that Ukrainian peninsula, and they did it. They've always said that they don't use chemical weapons, and they've done it in Syria many, many times. They deny the things they're going to do. They say they're not going to do things, and they do things. They said their massive military buildup on the Ukrainian border was not a threat to anyone from late 2021, when it was precisely that. They were attempting to scare the Ukrainians. They thought they might have a bloodless victory if they could get what they wanted from Ukraine without firing a shot. So much the better from Russia. But obviously, their attempt to frighten them didn't work, because Putin, he's a petty street thug. He tries to rule by fear. Right, thank you so much for my channel. So please subscribe on Patreon. Yeah, follow me and on the social media. Donate on PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com, and watch my, we'll look at my website, George from Ireland. Goodbye.